You people, welcome back to the Fix Podcast. It's going on here with Ari, Javi. It's been a minute since we've done something like this. All three of us talking to, I guess. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But yeah, we had to pull for somebody very special to draw out all three of us. Alright, and that person is none other than Dr. Sophia Longmore in the building. Psychiatrist, former Miss Universe Jamaica, all these things. I must say, with that being said, by the way, you are beautiful. Respectfully.
Thank you. Respectfully
I
accepted.
didn't even have to add that. You're divorced now. Like, me can't show my shadow now.
I love it.
Yeah,
Not you being divorced. That's how we gonna start.
Well, I'm gonna take the props and say I appreciate being here with three of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
thank
it.
you for being here.
Thank
man.
you.
Thank you.
Here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You know, I didn't even know that you were divorced. That never come up in my
Yeah, man.
doing the
yeah.
research,
Well,
right?
Yeah, of
Well, I
course.
really wasn't very private about it, so
It was out. It was out. In
It
the
was
news
out.
and
It was
Oh,
out.
so
Yes.
why weren't you private? I thought you're a psychiatrist. I thought, we're calm.
well, exactly.
Yeah.
So you learn and you show how to deal with when life throws you curveballs. Yes, use them as stepping stones.
Jaja. So you're saying even psychiatrists who we probably expect, to be rational and emotionally mature about certain things and this does not fit well and this is beyond my boundary. Sometimes them can go beyond that and wanna slash tires and
No.
Bust windows of cars.
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Maybe demonstrating that you take control of a
we were gonna be
situation.
sisters.
Yeah, man, we're sisters, but me have to try and bring the therapeutic side to the
Yes.
sisterhood.
No, I don't want to hear that. I love that.
So what I did was basically take control of the situation and actually recognize that, okay, this is something that I am absorbing and I am putting it in the context that I want it to be. And so, so you grow from stress.
if you're going through a breakup, and it's devastating, like how long you think is an expectation for you to kind of get over it?
Well, a breakup is like any other form of loss, grief and loss.
Yeah,
And
but the person is alive.
No, exactly. No. So sometimes we think that grief and loss is only about death. It is about something not materialize in the way that we wanted to or the way that we thought it would. And so you have to go through a grieving and a mourning period. So for my divorce, I was completely separated, went through the divorce process for a whole 3 years.
Wow.
Before I went public. So I dealt with it privately and I dealt with it the way that my family needed me to deal with it. And myself, and I healed, and then I went public. And when I went public on the anniversary, on the 1-year anniversary of it being actually official. So it wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna just go out. No, because it was something that was very special to me. And we have 2 lovely kids from it. So I also had to consider how to, in a healthy way, deal with that loss and allow myself to grieve. And so that is a big part of what people deal with nowadays, what we call unrecognized grief.
Yeah.
Things hurt and we lose things and we don't realize how much they hit us until probably later on it manifests.
From the men's side of things in Jamaica, it's
You guys have no emotions.
Well, it's usually encouraged that from where you'd say, boy, enough cry over a girl, man of cry over a girl, and all these things, having
How did that work out for you guys?
Hey, for some man very well all when they start focus on themselves, making something of themselves and then doing it.
But how did you get to that point?
Exactly. They had to do some self-analysis.
Self-reflection, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And grow from it and say, boy, you know what, I'm going to just take with myself from new man them for a while and just work for myself. That's therapy. That's
How do you feel like this
this
sort of attitude affects young men in Jamaica?
Well, just generally, men tend to have poorer, what we call health-seeking behaviors, and more so for their mental wellness. Note I say mental wellness, trying to take away from the stigma of mental health and mental illness. Men tend to not be as proactive, particularly because the way it's kind of socialized that way. But you're realizing that more and more that is changing, and with more awareness of self and wanting to be our best selves, and that being not gender specific, you're finding that more and more men are gearing towards seeking the help that they need.
But you know, it was recently, because I think it was October in mental
Men's mental health
awareness month, right? And I think there was a
June.
So you had mental
There's
health
such a
awareness.
Yeah.
No, it's not men. So you have mental health awareness month is this month, which is
Right.
October.
Oh, I thought it was
Right.
May.
And then May is child month, like child protection issues.
Oh, okay.
But you tend to have male you tend to have a male focus in some of these months because
right.
of the poor health seeking behavior.
Right.
So there's emphasis to try and pull out the males.
Right.
Right.
But the question was because, you know, in Jamaica, there was, the suicide rate. I think JCF puts out that it increased. And of
No, it
course.
actually declined from the one last year.
Oh.
But they were
It's still
concerned.
too high.
Right.
It's still too much.
Yeah,
Right.
it's trending.
So the thing is that
No.
they you know, men, you know, say they're not proactive in seeking, you know, intervention, but they constitute majority of suicides, really.
Because they tend to be proactive in what they need to do to make it happen and successful, unfortunately. So what you find is that women may attempt more, but men may succeed more because they tend to choose more lethal methods.
So like a gunshot.
So
to
they
the
will
head,
tend.
yeah.
So when a man decides that, okay, he will choose something that is likely going to take him out.
Yeah.
Whereas women tend to not be as deadly in their actions, and so you tend to have it. But more women tend to attempt
more.
suicide.
I find that women tend to be a bit more torturous in their actions. Like, you know, the cutting of the wrists and like you look on several young women's wrists, it's all cut up.
Well, I tell you something. You know, it's very interesting that you said that to me. A friend of mine came to me earlier, like maybe about earlier today actually, and was relating to me about a nephew that she has. And he is like about 15, 16 years old. And I was shocked. Now, this is a young man from a very well-to-do background. You know, nuclear family and so forth and so forth. And I was surprised when you know, she disclosed that like maybe self-harming. And then I realized that maybe it is not necessarily a matter of wanting to end life. Sometimes literally because of how publicized this thing is, they are sometimes curious. And the child is actually that type of curious child and is almost like wanting to find out what the pain feels like. So yes, there might be an unhappiness about something, but the intent to do the actual physical harm might not be to kill self, but to feel pain, to almost escape from pain somewhere else.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of the whole concept around self-harm and so forth is a whole different type of understanding that is out there. And what I have to say here and underscore is that what we do in the media spaces especially, we have to be very careful with how we convey the information to make it not seem as if it's something sensational or something that people should gravitate towards, like, oh my God, I can make my name out of that. You know, unfortunately, some of our children can be quite influenced that way. So we have to underscore that, look, man, this is not something that you want to be doing, because long term, it's not going to benefit you at all. And if you're hurting that much, try and seek the help that will actually help you rather than further damage to yourself.
But what if the you doing self-harm, you know, you talk, you share with people, and it's just the fact that it's the only way that you can escape, as you say, is like escaping the emotional hurt that it is so hard to convey to people. It's so hard to tell people, say, hey, I'm really sad. But then, see, there's a pain here that I can focus all my energy on. And it's like you focus your energy on the physical pain here.
So enough things there, enough things to unpack. So, all right, first let us talk about what we call the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences. That's a big technical term that we put it, adverse childhood experiences. And these are the traumas that we may go through. And sometimes it's not overt trauma. Sometimes it's even how in your household, how people communicate, how people disagree, conflict resolution. If they don't like something, then shout you down, and so that can cause trauma. And what you find is that this can manifest later on in how persons cope when stress hits and so forth. Now, what research finds is that if one positive influence is in that child's life, just one single consistent positive influence, it can reverse the effects of the ACEs. Now, these ACEs tend to be behind things like substance use, like really, really bad, significant addiction, substance use, like some of the serious illnesses that we have, like the schizophrenia and bipolar and major depression. Also behind some of the chronic lifestyle illnesses like diabetes and hypertension and autoimmune illnesses and cancers. So these ACEs, these adverse childhood experiences, if we don't if we don't find that one single positive influence at least, it can have these consequences. But if we are to educate and spread the word that seeking that type of relief in self-harm versus actively trying to just find one person that you can confide in, it could make a whole lot of difference. Because once you start the cycle of the self-harm, it is hard, because when, it's like you start to realize that you're so damaged that you have to be doing this. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Because even realizing that you're doing that now, you start to feel bad about yourself.
Yep. You
Right?
feel the guilt,
my
you feel the
gosh.
shame.
You feel bad.
You feel like, and then people say, oh, you're doing it for attention. And you're like, I should have just do it on my leg. I should have do it on my stomach. Like, you choose.
there it
It's like
is.
you say, oh shit, I choose the wrong place.
And you practically become embarrassed now and even ashamed to seek help because now you feel so bad that you things are gone bad. And ironically, so many persons, so many children or so many young people, adults, whoever, who do this, there is usually somebody who cares enough, but you feel so bad that you not even want to initiate seeking help.
Right.
So then, no, let's do practical things, because I want this to be a practical show. I want people to watch it and to say like, well, okay, so you see somebody doing self-harm, you see somebody, they're sad, they're expressing that they're sad. Instead of like, of course, the usual thing, go pray, go see God. Nothing wrong with you. Yeah, dramatic, whatever. Like, what can we really do? Like, even if we don't have the capacity to like say, well, this bigger than me, but me there for you, hush. Like, what can we do to really and truly help somebody that's suffering in that way?
All right.
When we see the signs.
All right. So let me tell you now. I've been a doctor for over 20 odd years. Yes. And I practice and I encourage the holistic care, physical, social, mental, and spiritual health. And I'm here to say that in my years of practice, what you said first, our spiritual health is the most important aspect of our health.
Interesting.
Very much so. And why I say this is that, and a lot of people tend to mix up spirituality with religion. Religion is a form of spirituality. It's organized. It's like what humanity has evolved in terms of a structured way to
dogma.
spiritually practice. But our spirituality is our sense of identity, our sense of self, our sense of belonging to something bigger than us, our sense of a unique purpose, self-value, and self-love. And when you have that, when you start to appreciate yourself and your uniqueness, you tend to appreciate others even more. So when you have somebody who is in that state of mind where they don't love themselves enough to want to hurt themselves, one of the best things they can do is actually pray, is actually seek to recognize where they are in this vast universe and their uniqueness. But that doesn't mean the other three aspects of our health: physical health, social health, and mental health. Personally, what I find out, if you take care of your spiritual health, your social health, and your physical health, your mental will be at its best. Why I say that now? Your physical health, your body is a temple. That's your instrument that you're going out there to go out there and carry on your work. So you want to make sure you nourish it. You want to make sure you exercise and you keep well and get enough sleep and hydrate, etc., etc. Your social health is the connections that you have. Your intimate partner, your friends. I remember saying you can have frenemies, your colleagues and co-workers, and your other ways that you socialize. In that space, you want to recognize what are strengths and what are stressors. Which of those social connections build you up and make you feel good? You want to reflect gratitude for those. You want to encourage those. Which of those connections kind of shady? Which of them connections don't feel too genuine? Which of those, sometimes you want to cuss them out, but because say, boy, look, boy, life of and live it here for go on. I go just kind of hold it down. Learn to set boundaries.
Okay.
Learn to create that space because you know that energy is not in keeping with what you want to be. And that's your social connections. And of course, our mental health being our emotions, our behavior, our thinking. Now, when it come on to our spirituality, our sense of value and our sense of self, we do and we have practices that you engage in to tap into that. But when you do that, that is when now you develop that sense of love for yourself to care for your body physically, to care for the social connections that you have. And in so doing, making yourself feel good, which is your mental health. All right? So that's what I'm going to say. And at the end of the day, I have devised a little thing where I say that there's one activity, which is almost like what we're doing here too, one activity that encompasses all four.
Talk.
Play. Play.
Expand.
When you play, the power of play. When you play, you're engaging yourself on all four dimensions. You're engaging yourself physically, socially, mentally, and spiritually. Because
Yes, and God make me win.
yes, because
Really?
you're tapping on yourself. You want
Okay.
you're pushing yourself.
Okay.
Because you might find something say, look, I'm kind of good at this. I'm going to push myself. But play doesn't have to mean bat and ball only. It is what we're doing here. We kind of sit down, we're kind of having a vibe, we're a whole energy that we're kind of playing in this space.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
But we are doing it in our individual self.
Yeah.
We're appreciating each other's energy. We're physically making sure so we're in a good state. We are mentally in a happy place, and we're socializing.
I definitely find that to be the case with team sports. Really.
Exactly.
As somebody who
Exactly.
grew up playing team sports.
So
high
one of
school,
my greatest advocacy is for play. Children, every age group, children, young children, adults, teenagers, older adults, everybody should have time.
It's so
For
funny
play.
because the older you get is the less you play.
And that's when you need it most.
Because right,
That's when you need it most.
It's like it's like you have so many responsibilities. Either you're a parent and you have to take care of your kids, and then you have to take care of you. You have to take care of your man, like if you're a wife or whatever. Like you have to take care of your
but
business.
all right, but let's say in a
there's so
relationship.
much
But let's say in a
that you have to
relationship,
take
even in a
care of.
relationship, and you have kids, and you have date night. Date night is playtime.
But
Date
then
night is
suppose
play.
you extra
Yeah.
busy, your man extra busy.
But that's why you need to make time for it. That's what I say. That's what I
Yes.
say is one of the most healthy things you can do. Right? When you go off to dream weekend, a play you gonna play, A play you gonna play.
But then it brings up another topic because you find that children aren't playing as much as we used to, but then they're
Exactly.
on the devices, they're
Ah.
inside,
But
they're
I
not
was just about to say,
socializing.
like, when I play my games on my phone, that's play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But you also know when you're a parent and you have, because I mean, you're not like a very a child who is easily influenced, etc. You've gone through certain experiences, etc. In that space, parents still need to parent. And that is one of the things, ironically, social media that is supposed to be encouraging what is developed for socializing is actually causing social isolation. And it is also causing issues where the imagery and the comparison that you're putting on yourself to what you're seeing out there is unrealistic.
Yeah.
And that is leading to issues.
Yeah.
And so what needs to happen, like any play space, if your kid is going out there on a football field, go kick ball, you're going to make sure the football field good. You're going to make sure they don't hold up a pothole and all sorts of stuff in there for him to run up and down. It's the same thing
And
with
make sure
social
some
media.
invest in the same, not the same, but in the proper, equipment and gear protective.
Exactly. So it's the same thing you need to do in the social media space.
Because the irony
know what
right.
they're watching. What I say, content control.
Right.
Right? Control the feed. And you as an adult too, You need to know, like I said, same thing with the boundaries. If there's a particular feed that is coming that is just not you don't have to watch it. Unfollow it.
Unfollow.
No, but my
Choose what you want.
algorithm say I would like it, Dr. Long.
Yeah, but you're not. Are you gonna?
Yes, I'm a slave to the
That's what I was gonna say.
algorithm.
You're a slave. All right then.
Jesus.
Hello, confession. All right, I'll give him a card. We can talk afterwards.
Because there's an option that says do not recommend this channel.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I do that.
You're the master. That's why I said take. When things become a pathology. We all go through sadness. We all go through anxiety. We might all go through a little crazy sometimes. When it starts to affect your functioning, what we call socially and or occupationally, that is when it becomes what we call a pathology. It becomes a problem.
Okay.
At the end of the day, it is when you start to lose a sense of control. So if you now are about to say, hold on there, this is causing me, this thing my algorithm tell me, say, but me not want this is out of my, no, assert yourself, get back in control, is your feed. And if you don't like it, nobody have to impose anything on you. And that's the bottom line. Get back a sense of control.
Which, I mean, you talk about social media because I wanted to talk about like the pandemic. Like, have you seen where the damage that the pandemic has caused, not just kids, but adults? Like, especially you talk about the social isolation.
Yeah.
I see the rise of TikTok, like so many people are like, it's almost like an addiction to like what you're creating the content or watching the content. It's almost addictive. I can't lie. That's why I can't just limit myself to Instagram and waste my time on Instagram alone, because you be on TikTok and you be like 3 hours there.
Scroll.
Some countries are banning TikTok.
Yeah.
Some countries are banning social media for kids under 15 years of age.
Right.
Because the fact is that, you see, these things tap into some of the addiction centers in the brain.
Yes.
No, they're the
Even
social
its design.
dilemma, right?
Yes.
You watch a social dilemma, right? They all play on all the 7 deadly sins.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you there's a particular area of the brain called, so we get a little technical, the ventral tegmental area. That's a part of the brain.
Big
right?
word. Reading.
And that is where addiction, like cocaine and the stuff that makes you lose control of your capacity to consume the thing, is the same thing that is being tapped into with some of these social media sites. And so you are recognizing, and especially for younger persons, for young kids who are so very influenced, and a lot of times coming from homes where there's some sort of dysfunction, etc., they will now want to find something to gravitate towards, and they become even more vulnerable to it, simply because they are in that stage of development where they're trying to find what their identity is. And so these things, if we are, whoever the caregiver is not remaining aware, is not recognizing that, okay, this is getting too much consuming, this is, teenage years especially, they're about balance. So, all right, so you can get an hour, or you can get a 2 hour, but at the same time, you're going to have an hour or 2 of reading, or you're going to go and kick a ball or something like that. You're going to go outside and you put a schedule to these things. And that is always a good way to go.
Right, because I was
Makes
asking
sense.
you, like, have you seen in your because you are the at UA, the consulting psychiatrist at UA, and I was wondering, like, have you seen the effects thus far about the from the pandemic in terms of socializing?
Yeah, man. Well, post the pandemic, in 2020, 2021, yeah, man. Most definitely, we saw it in the field, us in the
immediately, because I thought
in
like
the
maybe
profession.
the long term,
No,
like, we're
man.
probably seeing
We were going through the shutdowns. When the shutdowns, and we saw that. I mean, I was out there beating drum, raising red flags, saying, "Oh, because this is." The teenage years are literally, there's the psychologist Erik Erikson, there are stages of human development. These are well established. And so there is let's say, like, a child just below teenage is one of what they call industry versus inferiority. Industry meaning that the child will go out and explore and thing. And if they're not allowed to go out and explore their environment, they will become more inferior or feel intimidated.
Oh.
The teenage years are what we call identity versus confusion. Meaning that it is a time when you're seeking to see where you belong. What's your identity? What type of food you like to eat? What type of clothes you like to wear? What type of girls you like? What type of boys you like? Am I homo? Am I heterosexual? What type of subjects I like to study? What type of sports? Identity versus confusion.
Should I wear baby hairs go to school? At least one of the female
just girls?
I was just laughing about the homo because I'm like, doctor, we're in Jamaica. Nobody's homo.
No, well, look, it is there. It is there. And the fact is that those years are about seeking identity. Now, if you are from a family setting or a home where you don't have a parent, or like both parents, if you have an absent father or absent mother, because you can have absent mothers, you have what we call the barrel syndrome, the mothers who go off, right? And trust me, those kids can have serious stress. It's not just about the money to raise a child, right? And the fact is that this child is growing up not knowing who they are. If there's a disconnect with their four parents, this stuff tends to create problems in the child. And they now go out there trying to find something to belong to, something to identify with.
Because the Maslow hierarchy, I need them. The top one is belonging. That is one of them. Well, belonging. That's one to belong into something, a social unit, so to speak. So social media becomes sometimes, unfortunately, that source of identity. And if that is not being filtered, if that is not being monitored, Lord knows what the child might be falling prey to. And so what we saw during the pandemic, when you had the lockdowns and the shutdowns, the very essence of socializing to go out there and meet and interact was cut. So you had these kids, you had children, you had people, sometimes, unfortunately, in abusive homes, who were in a setting where school or other external spaces would have provided structure and organization. And now you are being locked in basically a confined space, not just physically, but psychologically. It was just a huge
mess.
It was a genesis. You could see where a whole lot of bad things were happening, and so you're gonna see the fallout.
Container Bus presents Lucky Business Without the Source. Saturday, October 18 at Fletcher's Land Community Center. Music by Sound Government, DJ Unknown, and Little Richie. Admission, straight bar Shellis. Real energy, real dancehall.
I keep on using the word irony of it because we had to stay safe physically. So trying to stay safe physically caused us mental harm.
So there you go. So my one of my little thing was that we should be physically distancing, not necessarily social distancing, right? So it's a physical distance, but try and enhance socialization still. But
so how would one go about doing that?
Well, we're not in the pandemic anymore. So
true, but
during
I'm
that
just
time,
saying, during that time, would have been a better way.
Maybe Zuckerberg are planning the next one. We don't know.
Oh Lord of mercy.
Elon them and them.
It's not me saying. No, you could have found more creative ways to interact and so forth. So you could have allowed, a certain distance, but still have interactions and so forth, But at the end of the day, what we saw,
doctor, we never did a go listen.
what we saw coming out of it now, and there was a whole lot of pent up emotions, right? And if you remember when we reopened, there was a spate, especially in the high schools, of aggression and you also have to remember too that there was also maybe about a year or two where the whole school agenda was kind of discombobulated, and so the natural intellectual development was also being arrested,
stunted, if you will.
Exactly. And so here now, and remember now, it's almost like a lot of times when you have a child who can be frustrated at times, it's because they know what they're supposed to academically and intellectually be able to do, but they realize that they're not. And then you're having people, teacher, family, parents, everybody, making them feel bad about the fact that them not writing the way them supposed to write, them not reading the way them.
Especially when if they're to look around and they see others doing.
Exactly. So that now builds an anger about self. I remember, anger comes from hurt. Anybody who angry usually is hurt. And at the end of the day, that culminated in a whole mix. And so it was not surprising to us in the profession to see this fallout. And remember, no, this is not just only in Jamaica. This was happening across the world.
Yeah.
This was happening across the world. But as you see now with the whole heavy influence of social media and people not socializing and interpersonally connecting, people are living more isolated lives. And that now, again, can create issues. So at the end of the day, like I said, that's why there's a power of play. Play can do a whole lot of good.
With that being said, is there a gentle approach to a child who shares that he or she is depressed or suicidal?
Gentle approach. Well, with almost anybody in that state, you have to be gentle. But with a child, all right. So the approach to an individual is age specific and personality specific. There are certain do's and don'ts, absolute do's and don'ts that you must make sure you do. Try to always be supportive in the sense of being present, not necessarily always probing to find out what can I. Sometimes the person just wants to, like them say, you stand up in them life like statue. Then there's no say you did it, and you're there. Right. Now, a child going through depression may manifest a typical presentation. So if you see behavior change, if you see where they're not being as playful or they're being extra clingy, like just want they're just on you. If you, of course, the self-harming thing is something. So if you notice them start to wear long sleeve and the hoodies a lot and covering up long, in the hot sun, them still in them long sleeve things.
Sometimes I bleach.
Sometimes I bleach, but sometimes when you roll up the sleeve, them,
Yeah, it might be something.
But when you say them a bleach too, at that age, you wonder what might be happening for them to be choosing that.
Yes.
Right?
That's something that you have to pre the psyche. As well.
Exactly. Eating habits, sleep habits, those type of things. And of course, if they start to verbalize it, if a child starts to say things that you don't expect to hear from a child, if you start to see them behaving in a certain way, you start to wonder, okay, where is this coming from? And this is now where it is important for them to have even one person that they can rely on. Unfortunately, sometimes that is not the case. And hopefully the school system is able to pick up on something. So what they're trying to do now is doing a lot more screening in schools for when issues like this might be existing. And the home environment might not be picking it up, but hopefully the school will pick it up.
I want to touch on the topic of suicide. I saw that you recently reflected on the passing of Tyra Spalding.
Yeah.
A former Miss Jamaica Universe contestant. Jamaicans tend to approach, a lot of Jamaicans tend to approach suicide with criticism rather than compassion. What would you say to Jamaicans out there who struggle to, I don't know, probably could use the phrase, come to grips or even understanding, these things?
All right. So Tyra's case, let me tell you, first let me declare that it is in no way pleasant to speak about that for me. But the reality is that she was very public in her expressions. So even the interview that I had done, and it was on the front page of one of the daily papers and so forth, and what I was kind of tasked to do was try to help the public make sense of something that was already public. So you kind of had to try and find a way to deal with this suicide in a way that you would not other suicides, because you would not want to be discussing some of the details about it. But she had done so.
Yes.
So now we had to say, okay, how can we package this, or how can we present this that it is not something that is endearing for others to replicate, but to also try and bring some peace and resolution to the situation publicly. Unfortunately, and this was one of my biggest angst about that situation, is for whatever reason, her expressions, she explicitly used the word suicide. She explicitly expressed that she'd want to end her life. And there was no trigger on social media. So my thing is that we should have a system in place where if somebody is expressing these, it triggers something. Certain words will trigger a particular response or trigger a particular alert.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I think that that we should really look into. For me too, personally, it was hurtful that after the fact, I got so much info and people reaching out to me about it. And yet when she was out there saying it, nothing. And this is something that I know that I could have intervened in. I probably could have, hopefully, knock on wood, helped. But at the same time, didn't know.
Yeah.
So why is it then that persons may have been seeing her expressing these things and not say, yo, what on?
Maybe
And
was
I
it
heard,
right.
sorry, I heard that one or two persons did try to reach out. And this is also the other thing about it. That when persons sometimes are very hell-bent on wanting to end their life, it's really only professional intervention. And sometimes even then, unfortunately, still can't.
Because I was
There's only
saying,
one thing that I see that might help.
right, I was saying that maybe because why nobody, like, yeah, as you said, a few people reached out, but like even the public, maybe people think that, well, oh, you know, she kind of made light of it, or she talk about it so often, like maybe she won't do it. Like maybe I'm thinking maybe that's why people say, well, you good, and I kind of just.
Well, this is why I said that I think the fail safe is that through the system there should be something that trigger. So even if somebody jesting, even if somebody kind of saying it, crying wolf or whatever, the fact is that it is mentioned a certain time, automatically something should be triggered, that there is some professional response that is provided.
I'd like to ask you, yourself being a former beauty pageant contestant, do you think that there's anything to participating in these competition to women, females feeling less of themselves that would probably lead to suicide ideation? You know, the fact that, oh, me never win, so me not gonna accomplish my goals in my life, so means my life over. Nothing if I don't win this competition, things like that. Me ugly.
Yeah.
Like certain things that me feel like would, you know, turn out well for me in life. It don't turn out if I once them not win, like things like that. What your thoughts on
Well,
that?
I tell you the truth. You know, the whole nature of a beauty pageant is where you're basically projecting your attributes and you're projecting that about yourself and your accomplishments. So it would not be, it's not a far reach to understand why that particular cohort or that group of people might be more at risk for that type of self-analysis, and if it is not going well, the consequences of that.
I find it to be
Right?
so free.
Right. I mean, personally speaking, it's a bit hard for me, and I'm trying to honestly be as level as possible because I was a fully qualified doctor. I'm the only person I've actually done that, to be a fully qualified doctor
Yeah, I saw
before.
that.
Right. So I always
Before entering.
Okay, so I
yeah.
could have write prescriptions from my The thing about it is that was and has always been the ace in my back pocket, in the sense that I always had that. So I remember when I went to the international competition and they changed the rule like 2 days before the final, big story, last. But when
What was the rule that they changed?
they changed the rule that it was supposed to have been an interview that would determine the top 10. They changed it to the walk.
Oh.
So the walk, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, because
you would have aced it.
So yeah, it was a Miss Universe pageant 2000, and that time you had Japan was a mechanical engineer, Ireland was a chemical engineer, I was a doctor, so it was a very, very
Competitive.
right. So they changed it literally 2 days before the thing and so
I
forth.
think there's something like they want somebody for it.
Well, then
Something. But I tell you, I was probably the most grateful for my qualifications and my independence of the beauty pageant in that moment, because I saw girls. I stood on. I remember there was a particular contestant from a country. Her mother had been the Miss person for that country, and you could see this young lady was groomed her entire life for this. And when she was not named, you could see her crumble.
Yep.
She was devastated, and I was just like, boy, when you have something that is yours that nobody else can take away from you, God bless you. And that is an unfortunate thing. And that's why I go back to that spirituality. When you are grounded in who you are and you have a value for yourself, those things don't matter.
Yeah.
Those things won't hit as much because you know you have something else that is of value. And you're not going to be vested in what somebody else or something else imposes on you or removes from
That's
you.
a very unique type of competition where in which there's not a next season. Where like you lose that season. Some can get them next year. For more often than not, it's this a one and done and like me no win
actually,
no.
some-
I know that there are girls that enter multiple times, but still, but
to some point,
and to some success actually.
Yeah.
Because what you find is that the experience of the competition, you go in there like you're green and you're fresh and everything, and you say, oh, so you go, all right. So you kind of gear up, and if you're young enough to get yourself together, the persons tend to do much better in the subsequent
because
competitions.
in
Yeah.
a chance
Yeah.
that you may win. Yes,
Right.
it's still a
But
chance,
unfortunately, I don't know. I think maybe there are other things. So I wouldn't want us to say that Tyra's situation was only around the pageant and not winning the pageant. Likely or unfortunately, who knows? Maybe there was some ace that was at play, like the adverse childhood experience, something else that was at play. And I wouldn't want to dissect it too much without knowing the details. But you never know. The fact of the matter is, and I said this in the interview, when you have someone who is contemplating that and you hear them reflect a loss of hope, the reflection of hopelessness, that's the biggest red flag. And that is when every resource, I think, needs to be made available to them. Yeah.
We touched on men's mental health earlier, just a little bit, but I wanted to go back to it. Do you think that the home is to be blamed for the trauma that some of these men face? With where you're ball for, you're not a girl, you're too bally, and they suppress all of that emotion.
All right. So I remember when I made a presentation when I was in the Senate, in one of my State of the Nation presentations. And essentially, when it comes on to violence, and particularly amongst our males, we have to consider our generationality, where we're coming from. We have to remember that our forefathers were brought across. They were forcibly removed from their place of birth, origin, in heinous ways, carried across, and brutality of the worst imagination, and implanted in a foreign space. And then
no, but that was 200 years ago. Stop complaining about that.
no. Genetics.
That's what
it's in the genes.
some right-leaning people say.
No. It's more and more. So basically, it's not the fact that happened, It's the fact that taught that father how to treat his offsprings, because back then them used to be used as a stud. So him never even used to call them picnic, right? Him just go out there and breed them and so forth. And literally there were ways to systematically dismantle family and discourage family.
Yeah.
All right. Now that person now comes along and tries to raise a family, but still disconnected. Economics, this, that. Bottom line is that you're living in a society where these ways of communication, these ways of resolving conflict, these ways of showing love were fractured. So what you're seeing now out there in the society is a manifestation of that. And then now you're comparing yourself to other societies that didn't have that. That their generations were generations that built on each other and passed down. So just like how you pass down trauma, you know, you can pass down love.
Yeah.
And so some of those societies had more strengths that were passed down. We too. But we are seeing, and what we have to do now is almost reframe how people show love, how people resolve conflict, how people communicate. Jamaicans, unfortunately, have a way. Sometimes you hear some Jamaicans that heal each other. You have to wonder if a customer cuss. Right? Yeah.
Right. Very aggressive.
That is,
I don't know if you noticed.
is that your friend?
Exactly. So somebody else from another culture looking at her. Am I supposed to? What am I supposed to do? And that's the truth. But the fact is that, and one of the things, you know, I always try and also bring the positive to it. Just like how trauma may have been passed down through the generations, there were also positive coping skills, because our same forefathers had to overcome, and they had to dig in deep and find strengths to overcome. And so we need to also tap into that generational strength that was passed down.
She's right. Before we go up, because I have to bring this up. This is one of the main reasons why we thought to have you here. To talk and speak about some of the behavioral patterns of dancehall artists, because we talked to a lot of them up here.
Right.
Dancehall artists and even social media personalities as well. I just wanted to get into the mind of a psychiatrist, at least pick the mind of a psychiatrist, if you will, on some of the behavioral patterns that you see. We talk about the need for acceptance. What is it from your point of view, from a psychiatric point of view, do you see happening with social media personalities? Say like a Rosealee, very popular out there now. Like,
you know,
those type
her,
of
yeah,
individuals.
she alluded to wanting to kill herself and her children. That's why CPFSA intervened and took her kids. So that was a big thing in the cultural space.
Okay.
You know, another woman, Annie, whatever. Her children were taken away too because of like child abuse and neglect, and that's all captured on TikTok. It was captured on TikTok. That's why the state under the CPFSA intervened to remove the children from the homes.
Okay.
So, you know, that's what he was kind of doing. I don't know if you knew. But
Well, no. I'm glad, because like I said, I content control. So, so
you have to,
Yeah.
So
right?
even for yourself to like even
Yes, because I mean, there's some things that I'm interested in, some things that I'm not. And I mean, so, but it goes back to when persons don't know who they are. When you believe that the validation of yourself has to be from the amount of likes and so forth, something is wrong. And especially when you know that you're now going to be going out in a way where you're going to be going counter to the healthy execution of your role and responsibilities. So like the person you said was abusing her child or whatever. And then to publicly disclose this and so forth is almost it's like you're trying to create some drama and some sensationalization
To get the views.
and exactly and also in a maybe twisted way trying to get help, maybe trying to deep down know, so maybe if I go outlandish enough, somebody might pick up on
Yeah.
I
this.
must say, the trigger for Rosealee, especially, context matters, is that her she was going through a breakup publicly with her spouse, and the spouse
Called
Jakes, and I think he's definitely the father of the children, and I don't know, it kind of back
So
and
you
forth.
remember one of the first things we talk about?
The grief, the loss,
Unrecognized grief. So sometimes, so basically she lost, and you say he's the father of her children.
Yeah.
I know me, I know story.
You're getting
the
whole
tea.
thing. It's a whole thing, doctor.
Zach is
because
getting the tea.
There's a third party involved, and like him remove himself, him not really want her internet something, and you know,
There
like,
goes my content control.
Yeah, now the man match is playing TikTok with each other now, even though their kids are taking away things like that.
So, but here it is. So what is happening? It sounds like Rosealee. It sounds like there might be some
I'm so
loss.
sorry.
Sounds like some loss of the nuclear family, or what she had in the context of what she thought she would have had with the partner and the father of her children. That's loss. That's grief.
Yeah.
And we go through, there are different stages of grief. We go through denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and
then
acceptance. And it can come in different ways. And so that played out now on camera. That played out publicly. And one of the things that, even coming out of the pandemic and coming out of when we're dealing with some of those things, one of the challenges that we had where people were recognizing mental health, and mental became a kind of a sexy thing to talk about, so to speak. So everybody want to talk about. But the persons who were talking about it were not competent sometimes. And they would be unraveling and pulling out things from people publicly that sometimes end up doing more damage than good. That's why you're trained to do this. You don't just unravel something and just left the person out there raw, because you may end up doing more harm than good. And so when you have something like social media and somebody disclosing, and something very deeply personal is being played out, it can be very damaging. It can be very damaging.
But what about where, because, it's not just even, sorry, Rosealee, but, you're the person now in the space, but we see so many other people who go through like manic episodes, that them just cuss and carry on them live and whatever like that.
Reveal intimate details that they may or may not have carried out with their partners and stuff.
Things like that. And I'm like, how can we differentiate between a mental crisis or just attention? Like, because that's the challenge.
So it's like I said, when you say that the situation is starting to affect the person's functioning, their healthy functioning, their ability and their capacity to take care of their responsibilities. So take care of their job and their children, or whatever it is that they're responsible for. Then there's something wrong. Now, in terms of the sensationalize and doing things that is erratic and so forth, I put it to you that perhaps the viewership needs to look into themselves. Because in the sense that if you are getting caught up in that, and that is what that means, says something might not be happening for you, why you are given that much weight.
I believe Miss Kitty, speaking of, I believe Miss Kitty touch into it as well, about the audience themselves having a look-see into why is it that they're propping up certain individuals to, it's like we prop them up to tear them down in a sense.
And so it's
because
it's
just the paradox of it, because people would be saying, oh, this is so disgusting, but yet still they're constantly and I'll even point to Lisa Hyper. I don't know if you are aware of that situation. Like, she was having, like, as I talk about a manic episode, and again, it's like you wonder, is it that she crying out for help? Is this crying out for help, or is this a case where she needs she just want attention to her because she's dropping music or whatever content,
or attention from a specific person.
So many people lambast us because we interviewed her. She reached out to us. She said she wanted the interview. We asked her, like, are you okay? Like, that was a major concern for us. And her response was, "Me look mad to you." I said, okay, well, you want to do it, but people cost us because, well, you do that for da 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 da, and it's just like, well, we appreciate. It's like, and I did psychology in school, so I appreciate the mental state of somebody, but then again, it's like artists love their attention, they want it, like how you even balance it, where it's like, is this really
real?
see, like you always have to ask that question, like, how much of it is for real? Are you taking advantage of it? Like, are you a part of it? Like, you don't even know. Like, I ask these questions all the time. Like, I don't want to be a part of someone's destruction. I don't want to be a part of the train wreck or facilitate the train wreck. But the work that you do is where, you know, the more dramatic you are, the more entertaining you are, the more that you can do to get attention to you, it works out monetarily, you know? So it's like, I question that all the time.
Well, you know, all right. So there's a whole lot there to unpack.
Yeah.
And without getting specific, because one of the things I personally don't want to do is get specific to anyone in particular,
Truth.
right?
Yeah.
Just out of sheer respect, but also for professional conduct. The fact of the matter is, if you recognize that somebody is not is demonstrating something that is not healthy for them, that is not within your own conscience, that's not a way that they should be functioning, or they are not executing their responsibilities, you as a person who is in charge of the operation should say, no man, that's not right. That person, something not right there. So, or I'm going to temper this and only project what is good and positive about the situation right now. I'm not going to take advantage and say, boy, clearly this person is out of control, or this person X, Y, and Z. And I'm not even going to say, boy, all right, I'm going to put a limit on it, right? So you within yourself, I mean, we all have responsibilities in whatever professional capacities we're functioning. And if we recognize that, it's almost like the ethics of the situation. If you recognize that somebody is doing something that is potentially harming to themselves, then offer protection and don't exploit it. That is.
But then again, it's like, you ask them, like, are you good? And they're like, I'm fine. Like, if you ask Rosealee, she'll say she's fine. Like, you know, like, they're fine. And again, but if you're about armchair psychologists, and everybody's like, but that's not good, that's not well, but the person who we think is probably suffering mentally or spiraling or whatever, they say they're fine. So it's like,
especially it's like them because them don't want to be seen as quote unquote mad.
Yeah.
And like, oh yeah, treat me so. Like, say I'm mad.
Yes,
Me not
yes.
mad.
Yeah.
So
And another thing too is that they benefit from, you know, the colloquial term is crashing out. They benefit from them. They monetarily benefit from them crashing out. They get the gifts, or them get the views, and, you know, the eyes and the attention on them. So it's just like, how much are we contributing to, like, you know, it's bad, but but them seem like them fine.
But here it is. You just said it. You just said it.
Yep.
You just said it. You know it's bad.
Seem like it's bad.
Yes.
But they say they're fine.
Yes, but you know, you recognize in your own judgment, you are look on it and say something not right about this. You have to have the discipline to say, I don't want this.
But people like a train wreck, doctor, and I think that is it. Like, when you drive by an accident, the traffic pile up because people love to watch and look at an accident. So it's the same thing, like an accident that's happening online.
If I tell you something, if you have your child to go and pick up from school, 10 accidents can happen, you drive, go pick up your picnic at school.
No, but you're not slow down.
No. You might have a slow down because of the traffic. But what I'm saying is that if you have a focus, if you have a purpose that is more pulling and you're more determined to go for it, then the distraction don't matter. So if you know, say, I have a purpose where I know I need to execute it, whatever distraction comes and whatever don't fall within that, it is easy to move away from it. So if you know, say, I have a book that I'm going to read tonight, but me I go up on social media for an hour or so. After my hour done, me done. Whatever going on there, whatever antics, whatever this, that. You have your discipline about you, that you have something else that you need to do.
Doctor, FOMO. I'm fear that I'm missing out, and I don't want to miss out. I don't want to be, I don't want to be clueless about what's happening culturally.
It would seem like that's what the people on TikTok are saying,
Yeah,
like the
which we are.
TikTok world.
Yeah, which we definitely are.
Yeah, it's like an addiction. They
In
can't
a
stop
way, it's like
watching.
they can't stop watching, even though some people may just be well aware that they are somewhat complicit. It's like,
And this is what, and so it
nonetheless.
goes back to, if I may say, I may suggest, when you are not grounded in what you are about enough, you are living vicariously or seeking to explore other things. Now, if you have something else that is more productive or you want to execute, if you're gonna be caught up, the FOMO business, all right, yeah, fear of missing out, okay, well, all right, but if me miss out on what me is about, that is what me really going to lose. Whatever else somebody is carrying on with, that's yeah.
I feel like this is our therapy session now.
Yeah.
So let's further clarify. Come to when like we talk to artists and them not good. You feel like we are being complicit in further.
So what I think is that
Playing out their delusions.
I think shows,
Because some of them just have
I-
a need for validation, acceptance.
Right.
and We are
Right.
here just further.
and that is why I
But me
said that
didn't
one
want
of
to
the
ask a question about that too.
one of the well,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
just
sorry.
sending a bill, you know.
a therapy session.
Right?
How much time we have?
Right. What I was gonna say is, and this is one of the things that I know one or two hosts got into, and they called me and said, Sapphire, may I have this guest with that women if and I'm like, oh Lord of mercy, this is what I was talking about. It may be
It
sensational.
was
to
Winford, wasn't it?
to-
Yeah, big up Uncle Winford.
Don't diss my uncle like that.
Doctor said no
I
names.
did not.
Yeah,
I
he
did
has
not call
that
any
questionable
names.
guess a few over here.
Right? But sometimes you bite off more than you can chew. And there's a reason, so it's what, 5, 6.5, and 4. It's 10.5 years of training I do to be so in front of you as a psychiatrist now. 10.5 years. Damn. All right? So it is not light matters to handle these cases. And sometimes, yes, because it is not a physical illness or so forth that you can overtly say, all right, as a host, I cannot fix the broken leg and I can't realign the spine. You're not going to be able to say to the person who might be having a psychotic issue or a manic episode or whatever, you're not able to see it. And so you're not able to manage it. And sometimes it's overwhelming. Bottom line is that what I think is that there should be, just like what happened in Tyra's case, when there are triggers, when there are little warning flags, there should be something that is triggered that provides a response.
Do you think like one of these things is entitlement? Because enough of them are far
No,
across, they're
and
very
this is
much
what I
entitled.
want to talk
Oh,
about.
well, no.
I
Do you feel like this is because whole heap of artists that we far across, they're very entitled. It's like, oh, me make a song supposed to work. If it not work, then yeah, people bad mind me, them hate me. What do you think is behind that type of thinking?
Wow, that's a well. Listen,
Delusion.
you have personality issues.
Yeah.
If the person not grounded in themselves,
Yeah.
it goes back to my thing with the sense of self and sense of identity. If them comfortable in who them is,
Yeah.
that no matter, them can move on from it or they can come again and come with something else, right? They're not crushed by defeat, all right? They're not crushed by something that is not successful. And at the end of the day, success is not a matter of always winning. It's also being able, when you fall, you rise and you use it as a stepping stone, right?
Is right.
You must not fail.
Many persons, many movers and shakers, when you see them out there having success, they have failed, all right? So it's not a matter where, well, you do something and you feel bad. So when you really fail is when you don't pick up yourself and learn from what you got and move forward again.
But the thing is, most people don't even talk about their failures. I think that's the thing. But I think now people kind of get to the point where, they can they share a little bit about the failures that they have. But before, it's like everything that I've done is perfect and excellent, and I never had any bad breaks, and everything always went my way. But the serious thing is like, to use the words that I remember in psychology class, like the external locus of identity Yeah.
Woohoo.
No, but it's like, people, I want to ask you, like, how, I think managing expectations is really a major thing, not just for artists, but for all of us, where, we feel especially validated by outside, external sources, and just like wanting to feel like we matter outside, like, like we matter outside, that means it will suffice. We'll matter internally. Like, how can we, is there steps, is there things that we can do to kind of manage that, where we don't necessarily rely on external validation so much? And so, you talk about prayer, but like, what if you pray but the prayer is slow?
So everything, all of those things those aren't simple, easy. Everything is not black and white. You have to understand, sir, when you have a person who is coming from a broken family, a broken home, if there's any discontent there, the person is already at a disadvantage in the sense of feeling good about themselves. Right? If them go from home now and them go to school and them not adjusting well there, or whatever reason, or them not able to function and perform well there for whatever reason, again, is another crush to the ego. All right, they go bust a song now, and the one tune, and the tune is a success. All right, him feel good. Him feel a little something, and him get a little belonging and success.
Yeah, girls start
bust a second tune,
bust
and that one,
show what them never used to get before.
and that one, and that one no work. He's gonna feel crushed, and he's gonna feel, because what happened? Him never have the foundation that made him feel good coming up. So the limelight is the false sense, so to speak, of groundation, of belonging. If you're coming from a situation where no matter what you do, your mother love you up, your father love you up, your brother them say, all right, no worry, come on, get up and go back on the bicycle and try and ride again. They are there for you. So no matter what happens out in the wider society, they are still there for you. Now, when you don't have that type of structure, and that's why I go back to it, the generationality, it's not, it feeds into a lot of things. And what we have to do is recognize that we were almost programmed away from love. We were programmed to be competitive. We were programmed to try and better that one out in the field and take it elsewhere and so forth. So rather than building cohesion, there was division. And what we need to try to start to do is reframing that.
A lot of this what you're saying is applicable to dancehall and girls.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I wasn't even thinking dancehall. Like, I was just thinking, like, just overall, like, so many people go, them job is them if they do well at their job, them bank teller job, them construction job, whatever, is like they get reward from that. Is that bad to feel good about doing a job?
No, absolutely not.
Like, your job is like your identity.
No, but that can be a healthy
Job
thing.
your love.
No, that can be, yes. It could be, especially if you're tapping into your passion. If you're working at something, if you're doing and engaging your time at something that you love, it's not even work. It's just you're just engaging in your passion. So, but that can be a healthy way of coping. Nothing.
Because I always think that it's like you ask the question, like, what are you beside your job? Suppose you lose your job, you lose yourself, So I guess it's like that to, like, how can we move away, or is there a balance that we can find?
You just said the word. Remember, life is about balance.
Yeah, so
life is about balance. So while you're there,
balance is achievable.
Yes, and you try to make it achievable. And remember the 4 dimensions that talk about health, the holistic thing, physical, mental, social, and spiritual. While you're there engaging in your occupation there, you should be making sure that your schedule includes all of those other 4 things. So while you're there engaging in your job, make sure you're working out, make sure you're taking care of your body physically, make sure you're socializing, whether you're in the stage of dating or basically, if you're married, newly married, if you have kids, whatever it is, make sure you're balancing out those things. Make sure you're taking care of your spiritual health, making sure you're taking time to yourself to connect and etc. etc. And those things now, when the job fall out, those things are still there. Because you have created a balance and you'll be better able to bounce back and find a new job or find a new shift into a new career.
Okay.
Right? So it's about balance. It's about always trying to create that balance in life.
Why are people so happy, depressed people so happy when they're about to commit suicide? I've always wondered that because like I heard that Tyra friend, she said that she was good. She was happy. She seemed happy.
Well, it's not necessarily quote unquote happy. It's just a matter. Well, I don't know. I can't tell you because I've never really been in that state myself. But in the sense that maybe they finally say, okay, I've made a decision and that I'm gonna have some relief.
I saw something where people said like that's a key sign to look out for. So I was wondering if it's that true.
And like I said, I don't really want to go. It's not professionally well for me to project something like that because it's not hard and fast and it's very individual, right? But the fact of the matter is that you want to always, as best as possible, if you see somebody that you're concerned about, like me say, you want to stand up in them life like a statue. You don't have to be verbalizing, you don't have to be probing, just they know that you are there, and letting them know that you're available is one of the best things that you could ever do, because they will know that no matter what, there is that rock that I can rely on.
Jamaica's birth rate is declining. And whenever I have conversations with
like most
women
like most
who are
places.
contributing to the declining birth rate, apart from the expenses and shifting priorities, postpartum depression is a major concern. And I remember when I had my twins, for the first 2 years, I was not myself. But it was up and down. It wasn't like constantly bad or constantly good. And I think it's afterwards I was doing some research and I realized that, oh wow, it seems as if I was going through postpartum depression. But I wanted to talk about like the seriousness of postpartum depression and what are some of the signs that can go unnoticed.
Yeah.
And how we can help.
Yeah. So that is a very real cause. I'll tell you something. My actual thesis that I did for my DM when I was doing psychiatry was around the neuroprotective functions of estrogen.
Protective
functions of
estrogen. Right. And essentially what I demonstrated was that, and this is something that I need to just finish the article and publish. Oh my God. Now I have some time to do that. Is that at the low estrogen phases of a woman's cycle, the menstrual cycle, yes, there can be an exacerbation of psychiatric symptoms, right? And this is real. And what it is, to the point where there was actually, and there are actually trials of estrogen therapy, very low dose estrogen therapy in schizophrenic men in like, I think Australia, New Zealand, and it was having positive effect because estrogen is neuroprotective. Saying all of this to say, neuroprotective means that it's good for the psyche. It's good for the brain.
So the men were given doses of
Very low dose, very
estrogen?
low, yes.
And it
was
managed the schizophrenia.
and it helped to manage.
episode?
Yeah, it was comparing to some of the antipsychotics.
Wow.
Yes.
Look at that.
So basically, saying all of this to say is that postpartum, so periods of a woman's lifespan, when you have low estrogen states. So postpartum, post menopause, post what we call oophorectomy, when they remove the ovaries for whatever reason. Yes. So whenever you lose the estrogen source, you can have an uptick in symptoms.
Yeah.
So postpartum depression is very real, or they call them postpartum blues, etc., etc. And what you find is that it is, especially when you have close pregnancies and so forth, you can have that. And when you realize that this is happening, and familial genetics, so if you know, say your mommy had it or your sister have it, you could also be more at risk for something like that. So it's always good, again, where family knowledge and family awareness is always good to know. And you take precautions to prepare for it. So, you know, whatever situations in terms of your support level around you, your because, you know, during having babies, sleep cycle and so forth, having the necessary help. Yep. All of that. And twins. Lord
Yes,
have mercy.
man.
Yes. So, and having the necessary help and having the resources and so forth. It can be really very trying for some women after pregnancies, and there's no question about that.
So it's
and
real.
unfortunately, sometimes relationships go bad that time and so forth, and it adds to the stress and everything.
Because I mean it's anecdotal, because it's truly like most, like I say on social media, where they said like, you know, after the pregnancy, them husband change. And I'm like, really? Like, that's the time where change for the negative. But I mean, I thought that you'd probably want to cling to your wife more. You'd want to support your wife more. But is that, they said, is a whole different person. And I'm like, is it the woman? Is it us? Or is it really the man? Like,
sometimes I find that the men don't really understand what the women are going through, so they're like, "Oh, you're sad all the time," or da, 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 da.
Well, I tell
they
you,
don't
all
get
right,
it.
let me-
yeah,
all
that's
right,
what I'm saying.
we're
If it's us or them.
We're going for another conversation. and let me give you, all right, so my ism there, so now is this, where what I've come to realize, when a person, you're an individual and you have certain principles about you, have what we call, in psychology, we call them cardinal traits. Remember that one?
Yes,
Cardinal
yes.
traits. All right. Cardinal traits. Cardinal traits are our groundation, our what makes us the essence of who we are, right? So it's like, person is very moral, or person is very jovial, or person is very kind, or person is very compassionate, whatever that thing that makes them who they are, right? Now, you have certain things, certain values that we have, and that is us as an individual. You know, relationship, all right, you romance, and it's new and it's nice and everything, everybody, the love hormones flow and everything. A baby comes along, and as individuals, you are now basically recognizing cognitively that you're going to become a parent. You're taking on the responsibility of forming a child, of growing a new human being. Those cardinal traits and those things those values that you would want to pass on, you're more sure about, because you're you this, me want to pass it on. So when you had a conflict with the partner that you used to, when it was a romancing time, you used to overlook it and say, oh, well, sure, all right, just walk it off, and then, you know?
Yeah.
When the child comes now, apart from everything else that is going on with hormones, you are more fervent about what you want and how you want to approach certain things. And that can cause conflict, because the other person is also more fervent. So let's say for argument's sake, just a simple thing, whether to feed the baby at 10 o'clock versus 12 o'clock, for argument's sake. If you adamant say at 12 o'clock and you adamant say at 10 o'clock, I can big mayhem that, you know, in the midst of, yes, in the midst of all sorts of hormone, this, and all sorts of temperament, that, and people lacking sleep and so. So the long and the short of it is that this is my outlook, that especially immediately after the birth of a child, you are more grounded as individuals, and you are so caught up also in the parenting role, that you become more defensive of yourself and the things that you would want to convey. And if there's a conflict, and in the midst of all sorts of other things, physical changes to the body, emotional changes, like I said, sleep issues, all of these things can create a little mix that just makes life very stressful at that time.
I feel that's mostly the case with men in regards to the defensiveness that you speak about. I feel like the romantic man that the female probably meet at first probably lose out a bit, because now the man is now more fervent in becoming family man.
Exactly.
You know, and like romantic man kind of take a back seat to family man, because you know me responsible for this for this human being, nurturing, taking care of, and all these things. And it can cause a little drifting for going on the relationship.
And
It
remember
does.
too that
Balance.
remember too that the man is no longer or may no longer become the woman's priority.
True.
Because the baby, she now maternally kicks in. That is her priority. And sometimes the males might not be willing or able to absorb that.
Yes.
And may feel a little bit isolated, etc.,
In
etc.
a way, are not even can't even pre-say what's going on with the female
Exactly.
in regards to her emotions,
Worse
her
now,
feelings.
you want me showing what me that's about what you did that talking about when the man come from a family where the male was not present or was not encouraged in their
Yes. So I'm even to know of the know-how to
him never have the
navigate certain
blueprint. Him never get the blueprint.
certain
So
rocky rata. Yeah.
So I would suggest like family. I mean, everybody should go to therapy, but I mean, Jamaicans on the whole seem very hesitant on it. But things like that, where newlyweds, new parents need to go to therapy to learn to communicate and balance.
Not
that.
necessarily therapy, because we don't want to put a negative quote unquote. People may say, well, we don't go to therapy, and so, but like antenatal clinic is a opportunity. Real, everybody is receptive. People still on there waiting for the clinic. Good place to put information and to put resources and so forth. Use social media, because that's one of the things. Social media is supposed to be a tool and an instrument, right? Just like your toaster or the microphone. It's supposed to be there doing what you need it to do. So use those mechanisms to stimulate this type of understanding and to create spaces and forums that persons recognize. Have screens when you realize that, all right, there's a conflict in how to do things around a new child or something like that. Screen it and then channel the resources to help with those resolution and so forth and so forth.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice.
How far along
you?
well, a good time. How far, just to put that button on this, how far along you feel like Jamaica is in regards to our attitudes towards mental health? Think we've made great strides?
I think there is definite improvements. I think we're coming from a place where people used to just lock away. Bellevue used to have over 3,000 patients back in the 60s,
Like
3,000
Wow.
patients, yeah.
Damn.
And persons used to just be locked away, out of sight, out of mind, quote unquote, right? And you're realizing that more and more, apart from human rights issues and treatment advances, you recognize that persons, it can return to functionality. An issue with your mental health or mental wellness, so to speak, is just like pressure or sugar, just like diabetes or hypertension. You cannot look at somebody and know for sure that they have it until it reaches a point where you can't deny it. So when the person with the high blood pressure hit to have a stroke or him start to have a pounding headache or something like that, you realize that, hold on, all right, something is wrong, or them get dizzy and pass out, right? Same thing with sugar. Not until it reaches that point. It's the same thing. Somebody can be depressed. Somebody can have trauma or dealing with anxiety. And it's not until it reaches a point where it becomes overt that you realize that something is wrong. And likewise, just like how you take a pill or something like that on a daily basis for sugar or pressure, the same thing. Once we rebalance and we get that process of therapy right for the individual, all they have to do is tap into what they need to take. And sometimes it is medication, sometimes it is therapy, sometimes it's otherwise. But once they're able to get whatever it is, they can lead functional lives just like anybody else, and you don't know.
What's the numbers now in Bellevue?
They've gone down to 500 and something, and a lot of persons there now is that a 500 or something or 700 or something? I can't remember, but significant reduction. But a lot of persons, over 50 to 60% are people who are actually abandoned by their families.
Yeah.
So they're well enough to go home, but they're abandoned by their families.
Because they can't take care of them.
Which
so
is
like what would
unfortunate.
trigger you to go to Bellevue now? Like if like what is like a manic episode? Like you want to kill yourself?
Persons who have uncontrollable behavior or thinking or emotion, so to speak, and is deemed a harm to themselves or others.
Okay.
Right? Because sometimes, so when it comes on to medications, my personal adage is that medications are my last resort, but sometimes they have to be my first choice. They have to be, because at the end of the day, that is what is needed to save the person from themselves or from hurting someone else. But I truly believe in many other methods of dealing with some of the issues that persons deal with. Because sometimes, no matter how much you're medicated, if you don't fix the inside, if you don't fix the spirit of the person to get them to love themselves again and value themselves again, no matter how much you're medicated,
But
it's not gonna work.
schizophrenia not necessarily mean there's something wrong with your spiritual.
That's a different. Well,
Right,
listen,
and I
you
mean,
never know. Look, I might be going into some controversial things here, but you never know what might underlie it. You never know. You never know when you go through the histories. You never know what might be there. There's chemical imbalances. There can be different areas.
Yeah.
There is a particular area of the brain, the dorsomedial aspects of the prefrontal cortex, that is implicated in schizophrenia.
Okay.
And, yeah, if you want me to read
That was in the textbook for me.
right? If you really want to get into it. And, I can even tie it in with why they say, young people smoking weed and why it might predispose them and so forth. Because,
We're not talking about that here.
right?
I told you.
no. But I mean, inside you ask me a question, I'll give you the answer.
You believe in Obia as a psychiatrist? Like, you think Obia can cause him something like witchcraft?
I believe kill and belief cure. So if the mind says that something going to affect you, it can. If you
like bad mind.
Wow.
As
yeah,
an artist.
if the mentation is such and you act in that way, because when you believe that way, you're gonna react in that way, and so
Because
Is there-
because I say how many people come to you, no wrong with him, I obey him, and
that happens a lot
Yeah.
in the field, and so you have to. So what I try to do personally is that I incorporate the person's belief system in my therapy, right? And I try to incorporate that. So like I said, sometimes you have to write the prescription, but you also have to go along with what the family wants and how to
gotta go on better Obia man.
So like I said, 10 and a half years of training, you have to come with a whole heap of skills.
Yeah. I was gonna ask if there's an alternate option for the less fortunate who can't afford therapy, because I was complaining like it's too expensive.
No, so you have a lot of resources that the Ministry of Health and other places that are putting out and so forth. You have chat lines, you have You Matter, you have the my gosh, what's You Matter. There's another one that on the Ministry of Health website. I can't remember exactly.
Market me.
Shut
188 New Life.
Sealer.
188 New Life. The other one is slipping my mind. 211 for reporting child abuse. Let me see what else. There's a number of there's a domestic violence hotlines. There's the Women's Inc. for domestic violence and for women's issues. Every police station has a domestic violence desk, like an officer who's trained in that. And of course, every emergency room has a psychiatrist or a mental health unit that responds. Every clinic, every public health clinic has a mental health clinic and so forth. And you also have services for children that are attached to that. And then most private offices can have, I know you said that persons who might not afford it, but you have a lot of online resources that persons can access. Yeah.
It's expensive, man.
But thank you very much for
Man, we
taking
could
the
go
time
on.
out here. We could
There's
go on
so
for-
much I want to ask you. but
thank you very much for taking time out to speak with us. Intelligent and sexy at the same time. A dangerous combination. Respectfully.
Yes.
Respectfully, by the way.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much
For the
having me.
people who at least would want to enlist your services, how can they reach out to you? How can they get to you?
So psychiatrylux.com. PSYCHIATROI-LUX. Psychiatrylux.com. That's me. That's my website. And you can make appointments there and so forth. Yeah.
Apart from well-known media personnel, artists reach out to you as well?
That's why I go with a website. I go with a website because I don't give a physical address because people like privacy and so forth and so forth. So I do telepsychiatry a lot. So lots of that type of forums, or in certain cases with security considerations, etc., the home visits and so forth.
I almost sound like telekinesis, telepsychiatrist.
all of that.
Yes.
Like, where can people follow you on social media?
Sapphire Longmore, that's me. Yeah.
It's actually 1P.
1P. Yeah. Mine is spelled with 1P. Yeah. Longmore. That's it. Yeah.
All right, thank you again,
Okay.
Dr. Longmore.
You're very welcome.
And
We
one
had
of
a
the
really
people
good
that was the
conversation.
fixing therapy. I know we did.
We had a group session.
Yeah, we did have a group session.